Carolina people's been at 4-star hotels and 4-star restaurants. Today, we've got a 4-star general. Meet him, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Santee Cooper location in Garden City. We're focused on the Myrtle Beach Air Base Redevelopment Authority, and we're visiting with one of the founding board members, General Bob Reed. Good morning, General Reed.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming in early on a Friday morning.
My pleasure.
A lot going on, and of course the excitement to have your chairman of the board, Harold Stowe, with us last Thursday.
Yes.
Up at, actually, we were at the Holiday Inn West on the Waterway, and he had come out, of course, not a far trip for him from coastal Carolina, in his current position there as the acting chair of that of the Wall College.
He's an outstanding gentleman, and he's really been a superb individual to work for in the Redevelopment Authority.
And the two of y'all and one other have been...
George Graham, he's an attorney from Conway.
Okay.
We have been on it since the beginning.
That's amazing. Were you also appointed by either the state or the county delegation, or were you a city?
I was appointed by the city. Initially, Bob Hirsch was a member of the city council, and he remembered me from my days here as wing commander. I got to know him when he was mayor of Myrtle Beach. So he nominated me to the city council as a board member of the Redevelopment Authority. And the city approved it, and I've served ever since.
And you said you were the wing commander? You mean of the former Myrtle Beach Air Force Base?
Yes.
Wow, that's like the big dad. I mean, that's the
top position, yes.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. With the Air Force Base, such a magnificent facility there, and to think about it. So you had an intimate relationship. What years were you the wing commander?
I came in '75 and left in 1979.
Is that right?
About 4 years.
How long are those normal stints for a wing commander, or even? And of course, a lot of folks will think about it as the base commander, but actually the top position there was the wing commander.
Yes. Normally, in those days, they ran between 2 and 3 years. Nowadays, the Air Force generally limits them to about 2 years.
Is that right? Huh. Anything in particular that...
Well, they're trying to develop as much leadership as possible, and so a wing commander position is a key leadership position for training an officer for higher rank, and so they normally limit those to about 2 years now.
And were you a general then, or were you a colonel?
No, I was a colonel, but I was promoted to general while I was here.
Is that right? Yes. So that's exactly, as you say, a leadership position to open the door for a general slot. And
if you look back at the history of the base, the number of wing commanders that have made general, I think there are about 6 or 7 over the course of the years that the base existed that have moved on to become generals.
Is that right?
2 of us were 4-star generals, myself and Mike Carnes. There have been 3 that were 3-star generals. There have been, I think, 2 or 3 2-stars and about 2 or 3 1-stars altogether.
Son of a gun. Well, now, how long did it take you from that opportunity, I guess in 78 or 79, when you got the opportunity to become a general, to actually go from a brigadier general to a 4-star general? 9 years. Is it so close to the end? I mean, excuse me, when I say the end, you retired what year?
No, I'm sorry. It took... let's see.
Sorry to put you on the spot. Right.
7 years.
Okay,
7 years.
Great, sure. So by '86, you had attained the 4-star general.
Yes.
Are there many? There are not too many 4-star generals. That's incredible. Of course, when we think about 5 stars, I guess the big.
The only time they had 5 stars, of course, in World War II, and there were just a few of those. A special rank that was created in World War II.
Right.
Presently. When I was serving, there were 14 4-stars. The number's been reduced now because the size of the force has come down. I think there are probably about 10. That
is fascinating, General Reed. Well, I got to admit, no one, when they sent a little bio and you said 4-star general, or you about yourself, which is great. Obviously, a very humble person, and that's a great testament to the success of the Myrtle Beach Air Base Redevelopment Authority. A lot's happened out there. What year did the air base close down? Closed down in March of 1993. Okay. And there was some discussion about where the management of the redevelopment should lie. County argued it should be with the county. The city argued it should be with the city. Since the property, other than the air base itself, the runway, was within the city
took the lead and created a group. Mayor Grissom at that time took the lead in establishing this, but the county did not fully accept that. And so because of the controversy there, the Air Force said, we need a governmental body that we can work with.
Right.
And the state stepped in and created the Redevelopment Authority, which was an outstanding move because it established a law that created us, established what the mission was, and gave us direction. And so that law really not only established us, but it helped protect us from outside influences because we had to follow the law.
Right, right.
So some interest that was pulling us in some other direction, we could say, no, that's not according to the law. So that was very, very helpful, that law.
Your chairman, Harold Stowe, talked a little about this last Thursday, but for viewers who weren't tuned in last Thursday, this is not something, or is it something that's indicative in most states, this opportunity to set up a redevelopment authority by the state?
It's an opportunity that exists where they have closed bases, and in most cases it's been done at the local level. A few cases have been done at the state level, but mostly at the local level. Here, because we had division of responsibilities between the city and the county, it worked best to have the state step in, create an authority, and give it the force of law.
Right, right.
So,
was it your 4-year tenure here as wing commander that gave you the bug that Myrtle Beach would be the place, or are you originally from the area?
No, we liked Myrtle Beach when we lived here. We have some family here. I have a daughter and granddaughters that live here at Myrtle Beach.
Right.
And I also have a son that lives in Columbia.
Oh, good. So the Palmetto State became home. Are you all originally from this state?
No, I'm originally from Kentucky.
Aha,
My
yeah.
wife is from Wisconsin, so... But because we were here before, we liked it, we had family here, we decided this would be a good place to come back and retire.
That's wonderful. Of course, serving in the Air Force. What year did you join the Air Force?
52, really. Went through a year of training and commissioned in 53.
Growing up, had you always thought you'd want to serve in the armed forces?
Yes, I've always had a love of flying. Wanted to fly, wanted to be a pilot, and so getting into the Air Force gave me that opportunity.
Right, right. Any special memories of flying during your service? So it was, let's see, it was about 45 years in the Air Force.
35.
35
years.
Excuse me, that's right, 80, that's right.
No, I flew fighters most of my career, and one of my first fighter assignments after I became a pilot was to go with a new squadron to Alaska, because in those days, this was 1953, 54, there was concern about defending Alaska because it was kind of a bare open space, and the threat from the Soviet Union was developing, and so we deployed there as a unit. That was a great opportunity because we were all new, all young, all at the beginning of the jet age in fighter aircraft. And so that was a great experience. The other would probably be my experience in Vietnam, flying combat in Vietnam in the F-4 aircraft. And so
probably vivid memories, even in both, whether in your earliest days or even after 15 years later or so, when you were even much more advanced as a pilot, and but surely vivid memories, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Of course, when you think back, we think back to '93 as the base was closing, so it was soon thereafter, within a year or so, that the Redevelopment Authority was formed.
Yes, it was formed not very long afterwards because the Air Force needed an entity that they could work with without any controversy, and so that's how we got created. And it has worked extremely well. We have a superb membership. And of course, Harold Stowe has provided us with, I think, outstanding leadership.
Oh yeah.
He's very modest in his approach, but he's been absolutely superb.
Has the Air Force maintained a presence even during the entire closure?
Yes, there is an office in Washington that the Air Force created to deal with the closures at the various bases it had, and so that office stays in touch with us here. And gives us guidance and direction and helps us in, like, we buy property from them. They make sure the deed is done properly. We purchase property from them. They act as the Air Force agent in selling that property.
Sure.
And Some of the property we had to deal with the Department of Interior. For example, if you were the Cathedral Bible College wanted property, that was handled by the Department of Interior. The Horry Georgetown Technical College needed property, that's handled by the Department of Education. That is, we worked with them to get the property passed over to the Horry Georgetown folks. So those kinds of interfaces have gone on throughout the tenure of the Redevelopment Authority.
Were you all ever asked, or did those departments, the Department of Interior, Education, was there an instance where it was entirely a public benefit conveyance, or were there ever sales that were made? For instance, the Cathedral Bible Academy, I saw that as an early recipient in reviewing some of the notes about your position, but...
they purchased their facilities. And we were not involved in that sale. In fact, we preferred to step back from it and not get involved and let the Department of Interior handle it. And so that's the way that happened. We supported and encouraged giving property to Horry Georgetown Technical College.
Yeah, sure.
And the Department of Education was very helpful in seeing that happened and got done. The other thing was working with FAA on establishing the boundaries for the airport portion of the base. We set aside in our work about 1,400 acres, I believe it was, for the airport.
Right.
And that got deeded to the airport as their portion of the base. They had originally wanted more, but after much discussion, the boundaries were established, and everybody began to work from that point on, the airport with this portion, and then we had the rest of the base for redevelopment. That's been a very, very successful arrangement.
Now, did the state, in creating the law that would set up the Redevelopment Authority, provide funds? Did they set up a slush fund of a sort to essentially enable you all to do redevelopment?
No, the law did not set up any means of financing us, and that was one of the things that we desperately needed when we started out.
Yeah, sure.
Harold Stowe touched on the fact that we were able to use the base housing, as a means to acquire funds. I want to also commend Senator Luke Rankin, because when the state authorized beer and wine sales on Sunday by restaurants, those taxes he put into the law could come to us, that portion dealing with Horry County. And that gave us a steady stream of income in the beginning, because we needed money to pay for staff, we needed money to get infrastructure done, and using the base housing, using what Senator Rankin got set up for us, and then the Air Force allowed us to lease property and collect the rent. So we were able to have rental income along with that, and so eventually we were able to acquire a fairly substantial pool of money.
Yes.
One of our first major projects was stormwater management. There was no system for stormwater management.
Is that right? But there had been some in place during the Air Force.
Not really, no.
Is that right?
Because you have to remember the base was built in the early 50s, and stormwater management at that time was not part of the environmental process.
Something you were not concerned about 75 to 79.
That's correct.
Right.